All right, boys, we are so back. Finally, after almost a year, PoE 1 is getting an update. There's been some pretty big changes. Pretty much most of the meta builds that you were familiar with in Settlers in 3.25 are pretty close to dead, if not completely dead. So we're looking towards newer pastures. Now we'll say a quick prayer for the Trickster. Honestly, I think the Trickster's still fine, but I don't think it's the most powerful, like, just generic Ascendancy anymore. I think that might go to the champion now, at least for attack builds, and maybe even for not attack builds, if we're going to be honest. So if you didn't know, in recent time, the champion has kind of gotten nerfed a decent amount, right? Like, they changed these nodes to be only 15 stacks of fortification, and like they got rid of some of the attack speed and stuff here. They got rid of a lot of stuff, and champion kind of fell out of favor. However, what they have done to the champion now is the Fortitude Ascendancy passive skill now causes you to have maximum fortification. I cannot adequately explain to you how powerful this is now. It does require investment, but this just means that if you have 30 fortification, 40 fortification, 50 fortify, you just have that at all times. There's a lot of implications here. Well, let's just go ahead and go into it. And it also counts as nearby allies count as having fortification equal to yours. This should work for minions, which means that any champion minion builds are a lot more tanky now, as well as for the new mercenaries in the new expansion. So also, Animate Guardians are probably going to be on basically every build, so this will help that as well. But looking at Fortitude, this is where this node is going to be. So now you're just going to have maximum stacks of Fortify. What this means is that normally you have 20, right? And with these nodes over here, you get 3 maximum fortification from Steadfast, and then you get an additional 3 from these nodes here. So this gets you to 26. Next thing is that there is a pair of gloves that a lot of builds use, which are called the Celestial Brace, that gives you increased attack speed per fortification, and these go up to 10. A 10 of these is going to be insanely expensive. Like, trust me, all of the gear associated around this is going to be insanely expensive because of how powerful it is. But getting like an 8 should be pretty reasonable. Replica Badge of the Brotherhood isn't as big of one. It'll be something good for much higher end builds, but that alone gets you to 36, which is pretty insane. Now, you could probably get another 4 or 5 reasonably from Lethal Pride, but expect that Lethal Pride with lots of Fortify will be absurdly expensive, so you're probably only going to be able to manage to get a couple, especially if you're in like a weird part of the tree. It'll be easier. So expect that 40 stacks of Fortify is pretty reasonable here. What that means is that you get 40 stacks of Fortify. If we go back into POB, that means that you get 4% of life per second regenerated. You also get 40% damage reduction. You give that to all of your allies. And then we haven't even talked about the craziest aspect of this yet. The Unstoppable Hero Ascendancy passive skill no longer causes nearby allies to count as having fortification equal to yours. It now grants 3% more armor and evasion per fortification rating above 20, and 3% increase attack speed per fortification above 20. If you have 40 fortification, that means that you get 60% more armor and evasion, and you get 60% increased attack speed. That is absurd. It's absurd. And then on top of that, if you have the Celestial Brace, you're also getting 40% increased attack speed here. This is insane, honestly. And there's another thing, but I haven't really talked about it yet, just because getting to 50 fortification is kind of hard. It requires a lot of investment. But if you get to 50 fortification, there's this node here that says 2% reduced duration of ailments inflicted on you per fortification. That just means you're immune to all ailments. Elemental, poison, bleed, all of that. You're just immune to all of that if you can get to 50. That's insane in its own right. When you combine this, right? You combine this with the belt, which is called Perseverance. It's on here somewhere, right? All right, Perseverance, yeah. So when you combine this with the belt, where you're getting 1% increased attack damage per 200 of the lowest armor and evasion rating, you're getting 60 or more than that, more percent armor and evasion. You have Onslaught while you're fortified. I mean, this archetype, the champion, like, armor evasion stack archetype on some kind of attack build is insane, is like the least that I can say about it. Going forward, even another step on the champion now, the Worthy Foe Ascendancy passive skill no longer requires Conquer, and it now has You Taunt on hit. You Taunt on hit. So it's important that it says hit there, because it doesn't say on hit with attacks, it just says on hit. So this is Worthy Foe. It says enemies taunted by you take 20% increased damage, and enemies taunted by you cannot evade attacks. So in particular on, say, a wand build, if you're using a wand build with any kind of spell slinger anything, if a spell hits, you should be taunting it. And if it's taunted, that means that they cannot evade your attacks, and they will take 20% increased damage. So there's a pretty good chance that you just don't need accuracy anymore. You are getting additional damage, and you don't need to take this node before it. So on a wand build, we could go Fortitude, Unstoppable Hero, Worthy Foe, and Inspirational, and just be absolutely insane. And on top of this as well, you're going to need a lot of auras, but your Mercenary will be able to run your damage aura for you, most likely, and it just results in an absolutely insane ascendancy for pretty much all attack skills, right? Like, I don't even, it is all that I can really say. The champion just seems like an absolutely insanely busted ascendancy now, and I have this feeling that it's not gonna make it to live like this, but maybe it will, who knows? It seems absurd. Now, notably, if you're thinking that, oh, I'm just going to play Splitting Steel because it's insane. No, you're not. You're not playing Splitting Steel anymore. Projectiles can no longer return. They killed the single target of this build pretty much completely. Don't expect this to be even somewhat as good as it was before, because that whole thing where they all just kind of like return to you in one spot and you do a ton of single target damage, that doesn't exist anymore. Also, for all the cats out there, Frostblaze of Catabasis got absolutely neutered. Now has 86% effectiveness of damage instead of 143, and scales to 240, previously 409. So this got hit really hard, probably still good. Normal Frostblades got hit pretty hard. Lightning Strike also got hit pretty hard. Early on, the clear of these abilities is going to be pretty rough. You just have 50% less damage on your clear, essentially. Single target's probably still fine. Later on, these abilities will probably still be good, but just don't expect these to be very strong. Now, quickly talking about wand builds, because that is what I plan on probably doing. My wand build this league is most likely going to be a champion. There's a couple things to keep in mind. The only wand ability that got changed is Power Siphon. This got more attack speed, which is decent, but it got a lot of reduced damage effectiveness. So it went from 159 to 105. That's pretty huge. Power Siphon went from 100 to 60. So this is pretty big, but this isn't the problem that wands are going to have, and I'm just going to have to figure out what to do with this. The problem I have with wands is not this mastery. This is cool because you're going to be able to spell sling stuff better. The problem I have with wands is this line right here. This line is very scary to me, and it makes me feel like we really, really need attack wands instead of just wands general. This line says, scepters, staves, rune daggers, and wands now roll attack modifiers less often. It doesn't give us how much less often. It could be a tiny amount, which with all the other changes makes it actually a buff, or it could be an absolutely massive amount, which makes wand attack builds basically require recombinators to be able to exist. So yeah, this makes me worried about wand attack builds. We'll see how this goes. They'll still be possible, but this definitely worries me. On the other hand, though, we have life and mana leech modifiers on equipment are now suffixes instead of prefixes. This does make forcing fizz mods on wands a little bit easier because there's no added fizz damage, I'm pretty sure. There's just plus the fizz gem levels. This does make that easier. It also makes plus the fizz gem levels easier to get. And then also, resistance modifiers can no longer roll or be crafted on weapons. I'm hoping that between these two things, attack wands are still somewhat possible to be able to make. It kind of feels like GGG just really doesn't like attack wands most of the time, but Either way, I am going to try my best to get it done. That said, if you're thinking about going Fizz Wands, I just don't feel like Impale is good enough to make Fizz Wands really the thing that you do. Maybe I will try it out as like a Headhunter farming build or something like that. We can go like Master of Metal, Impale, Fizz Wand, if that's even something that's remotely possible this league because of, you know, the leech stuff getting removed and recombinators being maybe a little bit easier to work with. We'll see, but that's going to be a much later thing. As for now, probably just going to go some kind of normal attack-based wander here with the champion and see where we land from there. As for how to start it, probably Econk or, which is the new hotness apparently, or some kind of bow build on the champion to start, and then swap into wands once we're able to get some gear together. And that is going to be it for the video. Champion looks absolutely insanely busted. I have some more stuff to talk about another Ascendancy soon in another video, but for now, Champion looks like it's going to be the Ascendancy that a lot of people are going to be scaling some pretty crazy stuff on. We'll see if it survives to the actual release. But beyond that, remember that if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in raid class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.